Welcome to A Christian Business Podcast, Episode 1. Quite excited here. I'm Aaron, and we are here with Justin, the owner of Northwoods Greenscapes and Overbuilt Construction. Hi, Justin.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. Justin, tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, landscaping business and a construction business. The landscaping business is 13 years old. The construction business is it's almost 7.
7. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
7 years.
It's kind of crazy. It happened really fast.
It did happen fast, but I didn't realize it was that long.
Me neither.
I thought it was like,
That's why I
you've
started
been in
adding it
business
up.
for a
It's
couple
like-
years. And
Well, yeah.
no, you piggybacked off of the...
Yeah, so I've done construction my whole life for the most part. Worked with a builder in high school from 15 till now, so I guess that puts me at like 21, almost 22 years of experience.
Okay.
But we started the landscape company, and we needed something to keep our landscapers busy. And part of that was they all had construction experience. So it's like, okay, well, we can do a construction company, and we do all these cottage and lakefront homes. No one's going to be there, so if we're not there every day, it doesn't make that big of a difference.
Right.
And it just kind of took up.
Then you split into two companies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
But you still manage both of them.
Ish. A lot of times I'm asked why I'm here for the landscape side. But, like, what do you even do here? Which is, the only credit I can give that to is the team that I have here.
Right.
I couldn't do that. I mean, I could literally walk away for a month and I wouldn't worry about anything.
First things first, I guess, or first things second now, actually, because we missed it. So tell me about your faith walk, where things started for you, kind of your personal testimony of where, what that looks like.
Grew up in a Christian home with parents are still married today. Never really had my faith tested until I was like 17. Mm-hmm. And I would say through certain life events that's where my faith became my own. And from there...
Was it a particular event?
Yeah. So 17, faith became my own, and that's really when it really made sense, and really started walking with God. And then I felt like I was being called into ministry. And so I went to college for a semester, but the day before I left for college, I met Serena. And so then college was like, I don't even know why I'm here. And I made it through the first month of classes, I will say that.
What were you going to?
I was going into youth ministry, but I was going to have, so it would be
pretty awesome at that, but that's just my opinion.
I don't know. I couldn't make it through. Maybe now I could probably go back and do it just because my mindset's
Well, except
different.
for the schooling, but the actual role itself would be.
Oh yeah, I'm like a child. It's fine.
Yeah.
So, but it would be more of. So, I'm sorry, I'm getting off track.
Yes.
So I went to school it was a double major. You always majored. It was Great Lakes Christian College down in Lansing. Everybody majored in Bible theory, and then you could take a second major, which mine was youth ministry. I loved it. I hated being in class. I hated any of that stuff. I mean, I hated it when I was in high school. And then meeting Serena before I met didn't work out. And then I went to their pastor, and I was like, I feel like if I don't do this, that I don't know how I can possibly serve God with what I'm doing. And so it was very much me finding my faith. I was asking very basic questions as far as he's like, you don't have to be a pastor to serve God. He goes, you can do it with what the skills God has given you.
What heresy.
Yeah, I
what
know.
heresy.
He goes, let ministry be the last thing that you fall on. He goes, because you've been gifted in all these other things, go after those things and exhaust all those, because I'm going to tell you right now, ministry is not easy.
And when he said ministry, he was talking like full-time.
Vocational, being a
ministry.
pastor,
Okay,
that kind of stuff, which, I mean, our salesman in our landscape side, Bill, used to be a pastor. Mm-hmm. And he goes, it was unreal. He goes, you 7 days a week. It just, especially in small churches, kind of what's expected of you. He goes, it was exhausting. And with a family, it's hard.
Well, and we're going to talk about a little bit later what ministry has evolved into for you outside of that I personally, I don't think you'd have had the opportunity to minister the ways you have if you had gone that track.
And I mean, maybe we'll hit on that later. Actually, put a pin in it.
I got it. Don't worry.
Okay, because that's very good. But then it was just, all right, well, what I do is my ministry, and in essence, my worship. I just kind of felt God lead, and he led to the landscaping because I worked for a company out of Grand Rapids, and I started doing it. I was like, yep, this is what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not going to do it for this guy. And
That's what I said. Oh, wait, no, I didn't. I think it was the other way around.
but
Anyway.
We're going to have to tell that story. But it was one of those things where we felt God leading, and everything about it didn't make any sense whatsoever because Serena was in school full time, going to nursing school. I was working for a place, not making a ton of money. We're starting our own business. But we started Northwoods a month before we had our first son.
At what point did you get married in relation to attempting to go to school?
That was after. So it was 18 months after.
So you met like the week before.
The day before.
The day before you left for college.
And it was a blind date, which was even cooler.
Why would you go on a blind date the day before you're leaving for college 2 hours away?
I don't know. Seemed like a good idea.
Jesus.
Well, she goes, hey, do you want to come over and go fishing? I was like, done. Let's go.
Wait.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes. When I got home that night, because my mom had to drive, we had to take 2 cars to get all my stuff there. And when I got up in the morning, she goes, well, how'd it go last night? And I was like, really good. I'm pretty sure I'm going to marry her. And she goes, yeah, right. Here we are.
Well, 5 kids later.
5 kids later, 15 years.
We'll get there. So you got married.
Yep.
Were working for various companies, doing various things, landed in landscaping, and then started your own gig.
Yes.
Okay.
Started my own gig, kind of prayed through that because I felt like, okay, God's obviously, and Serena and I were always praying about it. God was calling us there, and we knew that, but he didn't say go yet. And we never had the opportunity to go. So it was grinding out both jobs and you're praying through it. Well, when God told us to go, it was right before plow season. And if anybody knows anything about landscaping and this industry and plow season in general.
Can you stop saying the P word, please?
Why? Plow?
We'll tell that story later.
Yeah, that's rough. But so it's not predictable and it doesn't make sense if you're just like, oh yeah, I'm going to get started and I'm going to do it in the winter. I'm going to go off on my own. But everyone told me I was dumb, shouldn't do it. Did it anyways because, well, God was calling us. And a lot of times when he calls us, it doesn't make sense to the world around us. But we did it. And 13 years later, we're just almost 14 years later, we're still here. Pretty awesome.
That's pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome. So tell me, now you talked about your wife. Is she involved in either of the businesses here?
Yes. And she holds the license and owns Overbuilt because she wanted to be involved in it. She's not involved in the day-to-day or anything with either of the businesses. But she wanted to be, she goes, well, I want some part of like these crazy ideas and journeys that you have. So we'll go get your builder's license. And she's like, what? I was like, go get your builder's license. And so it's good because she complements. I don't understand always the legal side of it, but I know all of the technical stuff very well. So we complement each other in that. But no, she's a nurse and she's working a couple days a week now and she absolutely loves it. So,
Got you.
Yeah.
So she is involved on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But she still has that. I mean, because nursing, I could say, is a calling as well.
Oh, yeah.
Gifting, right?
Yeah.
Forget it. Let me back up a little bit. This, for those of you listening, this is our first episode, so we might be a little choppy and jumped around, but bear with us.
People can keep up.
Yep.
Yep.
Your two businesses, I want to give you an opportunity to, toot your horn for just so Overbuilt Construction, you have mentioned that, near West Michigan.
Yep.
Okay, how far north, how far south do you go? What's your kind of service area?
Service area is, I'd say like White Cloud to South Grand Rapids and all the way to Lake Michigan, Lakeshore.
Okay.
Then we go as far east as like Greenville.
Okay.
But we do a lot of lakefront property stuff.
Okay. So what kind of work are you doing?
Addition, remodel, custom homes.
Okay.
And more of like the mid to high end.
Mid to high end.
Yep.
Okay. So your project sizes are like
They're minimum
50,000 plus.
I would say that's about minimum. We have smaller ones we use for fillers, but our average project size is about 110,000.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And that's everything from a bathroom remodel all the way up to a new addition, all the way up to a new house.
Yes.
Got you. But you do focus on lakefront.
Yep.
And that kind of feeds also into your landscaping side. So
yes,
you're no longer doing the maintenance, the lawn
care.
No,
we sold all that last spring.
All the lawn care, and you are just doing hardscapes then. So
and plants and stuff like that.
Okay, so give me kind of the idea. So that's Northwoods Greenscapes.
Yep.
Okay. Similar service area?
Yeah.
Or is
definitely.
it a tighter service area?
No, it's similar. Because even those projects, they typically our project range is like our average cost per project is $17,000, right around there. So that's not going to be a small, lower middle class subdivision. I don't mean to say it like that, but just
No, we get you, right?
yeah, it's a lot of lakefront stuff because it's fun. Everybody's trying to outdo the other neighbor.
I got you.
And so we play very well with that game.
You play it.
Yeah.
And so you do everything from retaining walls,
Yep.
patios,
Outdoor kitchens, full landscape design, lawn install, irrigation. Yeah.
Okay, so kind of the one-time projects, not a maintenance.
No, we do. The only maintenance we do is like landscaping maintenance, where it's pruning shrubs, pulling weeds, seasonal color changes, stuff like that.
Got you.
Because the idea behind that, and even with the way we shift the companies, is with the maintenance, and you were part of it. I mean, when during mowing season, you can't take a week off,
Right.
Because the grass is still growing.
Right.
And I don't like that. I like our guys to be able to have time with their families, and the switch over to just doing landscaping opened all that up. Like we took the whole week off between Christmas and New Year. We just shut everything down. It was awesome.
Right.
And like this year, the goal is to try to shut down for that week of 4th of July.
Okay.
That way, because one
Summer
of our
break.
Yeah, exactly. And that's right after our crazy busy season.
Okay.
So that's what we like to do, because family is important. It's one of our values that we take very seriously, is we try to be family oriented. There's no point in killing yourself to make a buck.
Got you. And how can people who are interested in some of do you do any commercial work?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. So kind of commercial remodel, office remodel type stuff. Do you do full construction of commercial buildings?
We've never done a full construction. We've done remodels.
You wouldn't turn one away.
Oh gosh, no. Okay. No, we're actually working with a church right now to build them a church.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll be kind of sweet.
So commercial or residential, should they contacting you the same for both companies, or tell us how to get a hold of you for construction projects? Tell us how to get a hold of you for
construction projects. You can go on our website, fill out a form.
What's that website?
It is overbuiltco.com. You can kind of see some of our past projects, and if you're interested, you can fill out an inquiry page. That'll go right to me. Call the number on there. Also get a hold of me. Northwoods, you can do the same thing, or call our office.
What's the website for Northwoods?
Northwoodsgreenscapes.com.
Okay. And Forrest, let's get that link when we post this on social media. Let's get links to his businesses put up there as well. So, all right. Moving on to really the meat of why I wanted to talk to you,
because that was kind of boring. I didn't want to do that. I don't like promoting myself.
I know. But let's talk about, you've talked about the guys that work for you. And you know, one of the things that I first noticed is you say my guys or our guys. And I think there's an ownership there that I've appreciated about you, that you take on a responsibility for these guys. Tell me about, let's see if I can narrow this down enough so that you can kind of springboard from it. But tell me about, God had called you into ministry, or you had thought you were called into ministry, that changed into full-time ministry, that changed, and God shifted and said, no, this is where I want you to be. And where did you see that becoming a ministry to the people who work for you, as opposed to just a do everything you do for the glory of God?
Wow. Yeah. So when I first started, I figured, well, I'm a craftsman. I'm really good at what I do. I really don't want to talk to other people. It's kind of like this metamorphosis, I guess, of that's how it started. And then I brought on a couple guys where it's like, okay, now these guys are relying on me to provide a paycheck, but it's also my job as a leader to be able to lead them in a way that is honoring to God, but also I'm trying to find, not necessarily just, I guess, to set them up for success in life in general, not just business. And whether that means even having a conversation with a guy who's been doing it for a couple decades, that, listen, they didn't help you out at all because this is not for you. And, having those hard conversations was very difficult.
And we want to get into some nuts and bolts too. So if you could unpack that a little bit, this guy that you talked to, so what was the situation?
So he had been a landscaper for a company out of Grand Rapids for 20 plus years. Ran a hydro seeding crew or whatever. An awesome guy. Went to church with him, and I see him every once in a while. Now they go to a different church. But come on. And part, I think, in my first years of doing it, it's like, well, this guy's been doing it forever. he can probably lead a couple crews. Not a big deal. And that's not the case. It's just because and there's no, it's just you don't have the skill set to be able to lead in that capacity, whether it's being able to function with that much stress and trying to juggle too many timelines, and it didn't work, and he didn't have the respect of his crews. He was incredible at what he did. I mean, you put him on a machine and it was perfect, and that's fine. I think people just they want to climb, and they're more concerned about the titles than they are what they can actually do, and being content in that and being proud of that. And I'm not saying in a sinful pride, but like, well, God has blessed me with this ability, and I'm going to use this ability.
Well, I think that's one of the things I struggled with, and I think you had blessed me, because for those listening, I worked for Justin for a little over,
almost 2 years.
Oh yeah, almost 2 years. I worked for Justin, and one of the things we found out was that I was not a good manager. I was, but I could sell. So, and then I didn't heed his advice and went and tried to manage again and fell on my face, and now moved into sales, and so it has been really successful. And had I listened to Justin's advice like he gave this other guy, and so you were more concerned with his ability to thrive.
Absolutely. And even knowing that it wasn't going to be with us, because it had got to a point where it had burned too many bridges, and the guys we had on staff, didn't respect him. And it's going to be hard getting that back. And it was not a great situation, but having to tell a guy that was the age of your dad, that's the first time I ever had to fire somebody like that. So I was scared to death, but I felt like I had the weight of the world. And after praying through it, it's like, nope, you got to say it, even if it's not the popular thing to say. The company and everybody within the company is relying on me to make these decisions. And so I did. I said, well, we got to let you go. I said, but you have other gifts, other skills. You're great with people, and you are so good at what you do. It just can't be here.
Did you point him in a direction?
I didn't have a direction to really point him, other than, it's not.
Use here's some skills you might look into.
Well, and not even that. It's just managing people is not, like, you want to be a manager, but if you're not equipped to handle what that takes, that's a lot of people don't realize. There's a lot more stress, and there's a lot of back office time that you're trying to do things to make sure everything runs smoothly. That's part of your job. And he wasn't good per se at, handling those tasks or delegating those tasks or even making sure they were going. But it's crazy. I love telling the story, because it's kind of like an affirmation, even though it was 2 years later. It's because you always wonder, because it was not the way it played out afterwards. We were slandered on Facebook. We were all kinds of things by people in his family. And 2 years after the fact, I saw him. He's working for a company locally. And I'm pulling out of the driveway of our shop, and here comes this big old truck pulling in. I was like, oh my gosh, it's him. Like, what's he gonna do? Because he's a big dude and strong. I was like, he's gonna beat me up. This is it's gonna happen right now. I was like, nope. Put up my bass on, smiles like, hey, how you doing? And he shook my hand and gave me a big giant hug. And he goes, I just wanted to say I'm sorry for the way we treated you, and thank you, because had you not told me the truth of what I needed to hear, I would, be floating through life doing, trying to strive for this other thing. But you kind of pointed out where, kind of where I needed to go and kind of what my focus on. He goes, and now I absolutely love my job. I love what I do. I love the clients I get to talk to every day. And he goes, it's not stressful. He goes, I get home every day. He goes, and I feel relaxed and relieved. He goes, I just wanted to say thank you, because that was a big thing that, you felt called to do that no one wanted to hear, but you did it anyways. He goes, so thank you. That's it. And that to me, I was just kind of like, whoa. And that's kind of one of those God moments. Like, even like I have them once in a while, and you probably do too. Like when you're doing sales meetings with people, and then you just start talking, and then like you get out of those meetings, like you don't even care if you got the sale or not, but you got to talk Jesus with somebody. It was like, this is the best day of the whole year so far.
80-year-old woman crying in her kitchen.
Yes.
And
and that was that moment right there was kind of like a aha moment of like, nope, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is how I'm supposed to lead. And from then on, anybody we have in management, they have to be a believer. If they're not a believer, you can't, because we have our core values within our companies. But as a manager, I mean, you have guys come to you because they're going to deal with crap, and you have to kind of have an idea of where to point them, and because you have to care about them, not their performance at work, but at home as well, because that's where life happens. Life doesn't happen here at work. It happens with your wife and your kids, or your husband if you're a woman, and it makes a big difference. And I think some of that plays into why we don't have a terrible time finding people to work here. It's because we care about people, and that's really what it comes down to. And it's not a yell and screaming. We don't lead like that. It's a come alongside you, tell you when you were messed up. Okay, here's the consequences for this, but it's okay. We're just going to get back at it. Don't do it again. Right. So for me, that's where everything kind of shifted and everything started building that momentum. Whereas I don't need to be the guy doing the sales. I don't need to be the guy managing the projects. I want to be the guy that can lead everybody. And that makes I don't know. I never saw it that way ever when I first started. Not even a little bit. I just wanted to be me and just do my thing. But right. God saw it differently.
And so have you seen more of that and really more looked for opportunities to do that kind of almost like mentoring and direction?
Oh, yeah. And we haven't, you and I have conversations all the time,
right.
With all these other different ventures that you go on that, I'm slightly jealous. Wish my wife would let me go on some of these ventures, but I've had it too.
That's funny because my wife speaks the opposite direction. You're not Justin. You can't do everything Justin does. Anyway.
But even we've had guys that have worked here that it just hasn't worked out for whatever reason. And it's not hard feelings, because if you have your values set up within your business, whether or not they live up to those values is what keeps them employed or fires them. They fire themselves. And it's not a matter of, I don't like you. I mean, there are some guys where it's just like, you remember the guy in the flower bed that when we were pulling weeds?
Oh, yeah.
You remember that? Oh, that was bad. That was really bad. For $10. Unbelievable. Anyways, so but having guys we've got a guy that stops in every once in a while, and he's trying to start his own lawn care company, and he's doing really well, but he's always in asking for advice, and he listens, and he's being successful at it. And I love being able to pour into people like that, or guys that are struggling financially or something like that. We've offered the Dave Ramsey course, I think, once or twice. Well, we only had one guy that wanted to do it, but being able to come alongside guys and listen, I know life kind of sucks right now, but let us help you any way we can. And it's even to the point too, probably one of the best landscapers we ever had come through here wasn't ever going to stay here. He was going to be a DNR officer. That's what he had a mission, and that's what he was going to do, but we didn't hold anything back. I mean, because he was on it, he was good. And so and that's the thing is if you always want better for what that other person wants, and that's your goal, is you actually care about the person and not what they can do for you, dude, it's unending the amount of return that comes back on.
I'm gonna say that again. If you want for a person, say that again.
Yeah, if you want better for a person than what they want for themselves, where you actually care about them, and you don't have the end goal of what can they do for me? What can they, okay, you need a position that has to be filled and they have a certain set of rules and stuff and, duties that they have to do. But if you care more about the person than that stuff getting done, that stuff has to be done, you're going to go way further, even if they're not going to be here forever. You just have to assume that our job as Christians and as believer is to want the best for those and put those, above ourselves.
Greater love hath no man.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that makes a big difference. Now on the flip side, that also comes into effect too, is if someone is if you do something against me and if I have to eat it, okay, I can handle that. And what I do with that is up to me. Mm-hmm. Now, if what you do affects everybody on the team, now that's a different conversation, because it's not just me that you're hurting every single person so it's that team mentality too, that also that has to be handled a different way, but it's still through love and caring, because everybody knows what we believe. It's not hidden. Right. And we do open our We either open or close our Monday morning meetings with prayer. And it's awesome. We just let everybody know, hey, we're doing it. If you want to come in, cool. If you don't, no big deal. We do it before we start the day, so no one has to feel obligated to do it. But most guys come, and, I pray that one day all of them kind of come to and realize, but yeah.
Nice. Then, we touched on a few times letting guys go. One of the things that for, I think, a lot of new people, and me myself as a newer business owner was, how do you say Jesus loves you, you're fired? How do you navigate that in such a way that still maintains a witness, but does what needs to be done? And like you said, the couple examples here, it actually was to their benefit, though they may not have realized it right then.
Well,
how do you say Jesus loves you, you're fired?
In business, so like and this is where it gets kind of hard, because you have to play within a certain set of rules. I mean, every business, if you're going to have employees, you have to have a set of core values that you adhere to. Last year, we laminated it. All of our core values, our mission statement, our vision statement, it's above the urinal, it's in each bathroom stall, it's on the doors as you come and go. And we just let everybody know, like, you need to be able to adhere to these, because this is what we live and breathe by. And I'm going to try doing this.
This is how our business
business runs. And if you can't do these things, then you can't work here. And it's not because you said you would do these things, and now you're not doing these things. So everyone else is, we kind of have to let you go. And it's getting to the point where they realize they've disqualified themselves from being a part of our organization. And that's a lot easier to do. Whereas, like an upper level, like a manager or something, that's a different conversation. Like if it's a disciplinary action because, they're too harsh and yelling and screaming at everybody on the crews and not taking ownership of what they do. Well, that's not being Jesus to people. Jesus was direct and forward with things, but he also cared and loved through that. And outside of the tax collectors in the temple and flipping tables in the market, that thing. Yeah. But we're not talking about that.
They were supposed to be believers.
Yeah. So so I think that's part of it.
Walk me through that conversation, that final conversation with somebody. Hey, we've had the conversation about your behavior. Walk me. Okay, fire me.
Again? Ouch. Dang it.
Ouch.
Oh, sorry. You left that door, like you just kicked it open, dude.
I did.
So okay. So the conversation would be, we haven't had to do it since we put
since you put your values up.
Since we put our values up.
So all you say is, look, you.
Yeah. I mean, we've had to lay guys off because we can't keep them busy through the winter season.
But you've not had to fire anybody.
Not that I know of.
And if you did, then you would just say, how well are you doing at these things that are on this list?
And that's the thing is, like, Ray's probably fired a guy or two. Right. I haven't had to be a part of that.
Got you.
But Ray knows what to do and he handles it. But everyone's given 3 chances. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, this time you're violating these things. You're not, being a team player. You're not continually trying to improve how you do things. You're not acting like an owner. You're not taking ownership. That's why half that stuff is damaged, and you're grumpy. Honestly, man, if you have a bad attitude, you're probably not going to work here. Guaranteed. Because that's our first core value is smile.
Now, that didn't used to be the case.
No.
Why did it not used to be the case? Where do you think you went? I don't know, say went wrong, but now you're in a position where you can confidently say that if you have a bad attitude, back when I was here, that wasn't necessarily the case.
It was one of those things where, like, you just needed warm bodies.
So it was a need and a desperation almost?
Yes, but I think that too, like Ray and I talk about this a lot, about how, praying through things and asking that God always gives us what we need. And like, there are times where, like, we need to let this guy go. But if we let him go, we're not going to have this guy to help finish this project and stuff like that. But we've done it, I think, twice now, where we just have to, because everyone else is going to quit if they continue to work here. And then you let them go, and you know what? Everything's fine. It's crazy. This guy, like, I told you to do it. Like, I'm not. But it's one of those things of, it just sets up a different mood in the workplace by doing it.
And then you become more productive, because happy people work hard.
Gosh. Yes.
I mean, it's true. Happy people work hard.
And they're more willing to get into what you want to do and to be a part of it and to grow with it. And, we try to hire from within and promote from within. So it makes
Can
Makes it a
I
lot
can I
easier.
can I put you on the spot? I think you started to, and I interrupted you. But what are your core values?
Our core values are smile. You were created for and are here for a purpose.
Is it on your door?
I don't have it on my door. It says, I have it on my wrist. So we made like wristbands too.
Oh.
Or no, sorry, Scott. That's what it is. So it's an acronym. It's called Scott. So smile. You were created for and here for a purpose. Continually improve. So always be looking out for personal and professional growth. Ownership, act like an owner. Use our resources as if they were paid by your grandmother's Social Security check. Teamwork. Everyone's here working together as a team. And then transparency, just being honest with each other. Where are we at? Even like that book side on the business, like how are we doing this year? And that kind of everyone kind of feeds into each other, because if we can be transparent about where we're at as a business, where we're losing money, where we're bleeding, and when we're being successful, like even that sets up in how we pay people too. Like moving this year, we're probably moving more, it's called a pay for performance, where they get a minimum pay, but if the better you are at your craft, the more money that you'll make. But it's one of those things, like we want to have guys here that want to be here, and we want to pay them well for being here.
Let's move into some family stuff.
Okay.
You got a big family.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some would say big, some would say small. It's
Depends
all
on where you're
relative,
from.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
So how many kids do you have?
5.
5 kids.
Yep.
And you're married.
Yep.
And so what does that look like for you? Well, let's start with what did that look like for you when you were first starting a business? Because when you're starting a business, we got a lot of business owners listening to this podcast. So let's back up. You have a family. You have 5 kids.
Yep.
And you're married.
Yep.
And we're gonna start kind of at the back end here in terms of where things started, because a lot of people know that would listen to this podcast. Some business owners know that when you're starting a business, there's a whole lot of work involved. And take me through what it looked like for you to balance that. I'm growing a business, because you have a pretty good growth mindset. As a matter of fact, it's in your core values. Mm-hmm. So take me through that growth process were you able to, or what were your successes and failures in balancing that growth mindset with being a dad and a husband?
So at the beginning, it was easier when it was just me and a couple of guys. So year 3, we went from having 3 employees to 14 employees.
You did an acquisition at the time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I did not have a work-life balance. That was year 7 of marriage, and that was probably the worst year of our marriage.
How many kids did you have at that time?
Oh boy, 2. Okay. Pregnant with 3.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, I think so. It was rough because I was working 80 to 100 hours a week.
What were you doing all that time?
During the 80 to 100 hours a week?
Yeah.
Everything. I was selling. I was doing the books. I was doing payroll. I was doing quality control. I was doing equipment maintenance. Everything.
Looking back on that, I'm getting a sound again. Is your phone anywhere near?
Oh, no, my phone's way over here. There, it's your problem.
So looking back,
Can't find good help, huh, Forrest?
I do want to make a shout out here to Forrest, executive producer. Can we call you executive producer? Forrest Lord.
Move on.
Move on, he says. Thanks to Forrest Forrest Lord for doing some producing here for us. But so you were doing everything at that time. Mm-hmm. Now, knowing now what you know now, did you have to do all of that?
No, but
okay.
At that time, I didn't know then what I know now.
And so you can only do what you know.
Exactly. And not having the right mentors in place to be able to bounce ideas. And I don't recommend, if you're not already have the system set up, do not go from 3 to 14 employees in a season and handle it by yourself. It's bad. It was bad. I mean, we didn't make... made the same amount of money as I did when I had 3 employees. It's like, what is that? What is the point? And I worked twice as much. But I think it's one of those learning experiences, like, growth is fun and it's cool. And like, I love it because I get a high off of how hard can I push myself?
Right, exactly.
And yeah, it was rough. It was really rough. And yeah, it was not good on the home front. And our kids were littler. Aiden would have been like 4. Nika was a little over a year. And so they don't really remember that time. I mean, we were able to get away every once in a while for like a long weekend or something like that. But it was just all around, it was bad.
So talk to the guy for the next 2 minutes. Talk to the guy who's got maybe a small construction company or a landscaping company or lawn care, some, house cleaning, some kind of service industry. And he's got the opportunity to expand his business. What is that? Fourfold?
Yeah.
Fivefold?
Fivefold.
Okay. He's got the opportunity to do that. He's got a wife, a few kids. Talk to him for a second.
I would really make sure your wife is on board, and I would have really to pray about it, like, because even good opportunities that may seem, because this acquisition, outside of buying some equipment, really didn't cost us anything. We didn't have to pay for the accounts. We did have to buy more equipment, and that was fine, but we also needed to find people to employ. And that's one of the things where it's like really pray through it, because and what is your goal for doing it? I can't say that at that time my goal was like, I'm going to lead. My goal is to be a great leader, whether I can, if it's not going to be in vocational ministry, it can be the guys that I work with every day. Mine was just I just want to grow. I want to be the biggest. And, because I had so many people tell me, so that's very, fleshly, worldly desires, but make sure it's for the right reasons. You can do it. You just have to have the right systems in place, but it's not going to be easy. But I think too, what would help my wife is to know is like, this is only a season, because sometimes you're in the middle of it, like, when is this going to end? So if it can be for a season, it's probably more manageable. I don't really recommend doing that unless you've been through something like this before and this isn't your first acquisition. This is your first acquisition. I don't recommend doing it.
Or get some people around you that can...
Yeah, and understand the financial burden that it will be. Because it will be. It's a grind if you don't have the right people in place, because that will ruin you.
And listen to more of a Christian business podcast.
Yes. Yeah.
I had to make a little plug there.
No, but it was, it's in business, so like you get to a point, like we had a business mentor. So that first year I hired a guy on to do sales, and he was more of a business mentor that had been through it before. And he was a believer, and he goes, you're going to grind really hard for these times. He goes, but in 10 years, you're going to look back and you're like, yeah, it was worth it, because now I have opportunity now to think. And I look at opportunity as time. To me, I know what I need to make a year to, and you and I have had this conversation so many times. I know what I need to make a year to provide for my family. But the amount of time that I spend doing it, I want to be less and less, especially as every child I had. And as life goes faster, dude, you don't get time back.
Right.
And I'm not concerned with making $1 million a year, or I'm concerned about the quality of time that I have with my family and the quality of time that I have to be able to pour into other people. And that's why I kind of setting up the construction side is we're trying to mirror the landscape side into the construction, where I can take a step back and I can just pour into guys. I can have like quarterly meetings with everybody, like, hey, how are you doing? Personally, professionally, what are you doing? And how can we help you? Because, think about the last time, and maybe we're a little bit different, maybe Forrest is too, but we surround ourselves with people that can hold us accountable and that we can kind of like bounce ideas off of. But if you think about most of the population in this world, especially men, we don't do that. We're going to sit around and talk about deer hunting or, a NASCAR race or sports or whatever and have a drink.
Yeah, sports ball.
No, I don't do that. But it's one of those things where it's like an actual time that, no, I actually care.
Right.
And, I want people to be known for that. Not that I ran 2 great businesses, but that I cared about the people that God had entrusted in our businesses.
That, kind of knowing your number, you obviously there's a conversation with you and your wife, kind of when I say knowing your number, what income do you desire to make for your family? What's, I think about a guy I used to listen to, Ron Blue.
Yep.
I think Kingdom
Financial. He came away from Dave Ramsey.
So, yeah. He wrote, I think actually Dave Ramsey came away from him, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Maybe we'll have to have him on the podcast.
Perfect.
Ron, come join the podcast. So finding your number, knowing what's enough to help balance that life ministry. What was the process like for you and Serena to come up with kind of your number?
It changes. It changes
sure.
based on need, but I mean, we don't live extravagantly.
But,
it is,
yeah.
I guess it is.
I mean, that's not. I'm not taking a shot at you. I just,
No, what are you doing, man? But it's
You don't shop at Goodwill.
well, I think it's one of those things where like you kind of pray about it, and we think about what we need to survive, and there's a little bit we need to put away, and what is the reason for it? Like, I'm not trying to do it to be lazy. Like, I have 5 kids. I want to be involved with them when they're playing sports and go see their games and help out.
I'm sorry.
and go do those things and have midday dates with my wife to go out to lunch or something like that. But then also be able to show up on job sites, help guys out, and then kind of do training through that. Like the freedom of having that. So there's a certain number that you just have to be able to do that. And I mean, we just kind of add up all of our expenses, and I don't know.
And then once you've hit that number, then you just kind of look around and just let things kind of run. And
because if you can listen to some of these podcasts of these guys that are making $1 million a year. I mean, putting in their pocket or more. Real estate investors and stuff like that, and all they do is talk about grind. Well, what's the point? Like, I can give so much more away. Yeah, but who cares? Like, what about the people that you have in your life and around you? Like, how are you changing their lives? Like, yeah, you can change someone's life with some money, and you can donate things. And I do believe that's true. It all comes out of the right heart, but I'm not going to grind for the sake of grinding. Like,
not going to grind for the sake of, write that down for us. I'm not going to grind for the sake of grinding. He's like, you idiot. It's recorded.
So it's,
write it down.
Like, I don't know. Like, for me, it's like a lot of guys say, like, if you're going to grind and you want to hustle and you want to build something great, there's no such thing as a work-life balance. Then is it really worth it? Because it's like, well, you know what? I make sure the time I have with my kids is quality time. They know they're going to remember Dad worked all the time, and every once in a while he'd pop in to say, hey. It's one of those things where it's like, I want my kids to know that I love them and that I was there for them when they needed me to be there for them. And my wife too, because after the kids are long and gone, I'm still going to be with my wife.
Right.
And if all I did was grind while the kids were in school, and that's what brought us together, and we didn't spend time together, what do you think is going to happen after the kids go?
Yeah, they're not going to come back and say, man, I wish Dad had written one more deal so we could have had one more toy. It's going to be, I wish Dad had been able to go to one more game.
Yeah, or I wish Dad would have been able to take me hunting, or, go play ball in the yard with me, or go fishing with me, that kind of stuff that, your kids like to do. But I don't know, man. I think the number's different for everybody. And
Sure.
But it's just kind of praying through it,
discussing it, looking at what's important to you. And if you can, from what I'm just kind of trying to summarize what I heard from you, if you can attain that dollar amount within the time parameters that you want to attain it, because I don't think, you as a person, and probably most business owners and entrepreneurs, they don't want to retire at 30. And they want something to do. They want to work. And so how can you maximize that time? But then, okay, let's say I want to only work 30 hours a week and be with my family for the other, then what can I reasonably accomplish in order to attain that dollar amount, and that kind of matching those two up and finding where they meet. No, I get that. And then the last thing I want to do is, and we kind of did it a little bit, but let's talk about, I'm gonna toying with the idea of calling it Proverbs 32. There's 31 chapters in Proverbs, but you're gonna write.
I almost call that heresy, actually, but it's okay.
You're gonna write. You're gonna write. Well, you got Acts 29 Ministries, the church planting organization. So just kind of play off the same thing. Anyway, so you're gonna write Proverbs 32, and like I said, we did this already, but talk to two guys. You got 2 guys sitting across the table from you. One is a new believer who has been in business for a while, but just came to know Christ and wonders what it looks like to live out your faith in the context of owning your own business. And the other guy is a believer who's new in business. He's been walking with Jesus for a while. God's opened up some opportunities where he's able to be self-employed. So again, how do you live out your faith in the context of owning that business? So talk to that guy for just a couple of minutes and we'll finish up.
Like, I think that there's a very big difference. I think there's a very big difference the way that a Christian should lead in his business rather than, everyone talks about like business ethics or like, no, there's just ethics. Like you're either ethical or you're not. Like we can call it business ethics. So that means, oh, every other part of my life, I'm just a schmuck. Like, so like you can't, so like you have to look at everything like, okay, what has Jesus called me to do? Like if I'm calling myself a Christian, I'm calling myself a little Christ, well, and I'm supposed to emulate who he is, not only in like, so like our verse for Northwoods is Colossians 3:23. Do whatever you do with all your heart as working for the Lord and not men. Well, when we tell our guys at our spring meeting, and we're like, really what it comes down to is, you know, we just tell them like, we don't expect you to be a Christian to necessarily work here, but we do expect you to have integrity and work hard. Because that's the thing, like that's part of like what I look at as like what you do every day is in a sense a worship to God, because you're using what he's given you to give him glory. Now, if you're going to just be a totalitarian, you know, leader, you know, do what I say, you know, and just hammer on people and there's no love behind it, if people are looking at you and it's like, this dude says he's a Christian, like, I don't want any part of that. You know, so you have to show a good face for that. And sometimes that means you are going to, you know, where other guys would let things slide, like quality wise or something like that. Well, you have an integrity to do your best. So if you're not doing your best and you know you should be doing it and you just sweep it under the rug and let it go by, that's a slippery slope. It's a really slippery slope.
So feel free to hold other people accountable to your standards, whether or not they believe the same way you believe.
Yeah, because it should be a part of your business. But that's the thing too, is I think like a lot of small businesses get wrong. Have a set of core values, things that you adhere to, and really adhere to them and make sure everybody knows them. And use that as your hiring and firing base. Because otherwise it's just arbitrary. Like you have a bad attitude, you're done. Like, no, well, why? Why did I get let go? And it's it's mine now. Dang it. I'm bad as Aaron. You know, so you have a certain set that people can be held accountable to. And two, like we like to have ours have a, you know, a Christian feel to them. It's kind of how we live and operate. Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with that.
Heck no, there's nothing wrong with that.
Give yourself permission.
Yes.
Is what you would say.
Absolutely. It's your business it's God's business that he's led you to run, you know, or if you all of a sudden become a believer after owning business, maybe you need to take a look at how you've been doing things. But ultimately, I think as leaders, whether you're a leader in the church or a leader within business, you're going to be held accountable for, you know, for decisions that you make and for how you handle situations. And that is scary.
That is scary.
So we'll leave you with some fear today.
It doesn't have to. I mean, I don't know. If you're called into a position of leadership, like some guys, they want to start a business and because they're really good at what they do and they could have all kinds of work. Cool. There's nothing wrong with that. Be great at what you are. Be a craftsman. Give God all the glory and honor in doing that because that's what he's created you. It's a thing of contentment. You know, find contentment in what you're doing, you know, but if he's giving you a different skill set and different gift set, like if you're supposed to be a leader, well, then you're doing a disservice to the gifts that you've been given if all you are is craftsmen. You know what I mean? So
15 years ago, that would have been a throat punch to you.
Yep. No, it would have. Absolutely. But and sometimes too, it's a metamorphosis of, you know, as you go, you learn new things and you discover new things about things you like to do. And I mean, 'cause when I first started, I hated sales, believe it or not. Hated it. Now it's one of my favorite things to do, just because I love talking to people.
Right. You didn't.
No, gosh, no. Like
So
cold
we get
calling.
on the mower and
Yeah, let me get on the mower, put my, you know, headphones on and just go. And now it's like, I don't want to do that.
Sarah, get inside my head too much. I got too much to do.
Yeah.
Well, Justin, I appreciate you being willing to be on the podcast and share some of your wisdom and some of your shortcomings and some of your successes. And I think that's going to bless a lot of people. We do thank you for listening to a Christian Business Podcast. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to the podcast, and tell your friends. And we do thank you for listening to a Christian Business Podcast. And we look forward to having some more great episodes. Don't forget to like and subscribe, especially subscribing to the podcast on your favorite platform so that more people can benefit from this. So thank you very much, Justin. Overbuiltco.com and northwoodsgreenscapes.com if you'd like to work with Justin in the future. Thanks.
Sweet.
God bless you.